Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're heading back into projects that have gone way too long. Back after we moved into the house and before I really got into woodworking and making things, we picked up this IKEA shelf and installed it by the front door as a catch-all for your keys, wallet, gloves, dog leash, etc. My wife took issue with the fact that we could never seem to keep it organized or looking good, so she wanted some doors installed. Just to give you a timeline, I started this roughly the same time as I started my magazine rack. You can check out those videos up here. Keep in mind that they are fairly early in my video editing days, so the other words, they're terrible. I'm going to jump ahead toward the end of the project. Basically, I cut the doors to size on the table saw, sanded, my wife primed and painted, and then I gave them all 3 coats of polyurethane. So now it's 2 years later and I'm just noticing that these are actually too thin, and if I were to drill a hole for the Euro hinges, they will just pop through the front of the doors. So I'm not about to put this project on hold again for another 2 years. So to fix this, I run to the store and pick up some 1/4 inch thick MDF and cut it into strips at the table saw. Once I have them cut to size, I go through and mark center on each piece, and then do the same for the doors. Then I grab my drill and countersink bit, making sure to set the depth to not punch through the front of the door, line up the MDF, and pre-drill in each corner. Then I follow it up with a screw. So, not ideal for sure. I'd have rather just have the correct thickness of plywood, but I screwed that up before this project even started. With the MDF backer installed, this gives me enough thickness to install the Euro hinges. And to make sure I have the holes drilled into the same spot on each of the doors, I'm setting up a jig. Using a scrap of plywood cut to the same length as the doors. Apparently I was feeling fancy since I used walnut. I measured 5 inches in and swapping over to metric for a bit, offset from the edge 3 millimeters, and then apparently being too lazy to move the camera, I take the jig over to the drill press and with a 35 millimeter Forstner bit, I drill out the cups for the Euro hinges. There we go, here's my guide using my expensive walnut plywood. It was the only thinnest strip I had. I didn't feel like ripping down a new sheet. Then after I installed the hinges for testing purposes, I take the jig inside to make sure that the template will work in the cabinet, which it does. So while I have the jig here and ready to go, I install all of the receiver portions of the hinges to the cabinet. What you doing there? And with that done, I head back into the shop. Back at the drill press, I drill out all of the cups on the doors after lining up the jig and clamping it to the door. Before I install the hinges, I remember that doors typically have handles, so I mark out center at the top of the doors and head back to the drill press to drill the screw holes for the handles. Then I install the hinges. So seeing as how it's round, I can do it basically all the way around wrong if I wanted to. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to hook my square onto the edge, bring it to the side of the hinge, and that'll make it so that the hinge is straight. And then with my hinge bit on the drill bit, I'm going to pre-drill the holes. If it works and doesn't jam up. However, when I went to install the doors, I found all of the issues I didn't account for when this project began 2 years ago, mostly due to errors in measuring and not having the correct Euro hinges to begin with.
Does the one shelf have to move up one? Because then that would close the 1/2 inch on top.
That would be one way to solve it, yeah.
Try that.
I might just have to drill custom holes in it to make it work properly. That would save us having to redo all of these because the way I had measured these to begin with was that these overlapped this, like right in the middle. And they're not doing that now. So like this should have been halfway into this shelf. This should have been halfway into this shelf, and then that would be why this is not going all the way up. So I just need to drill some custom holes into the sides here. And that'll solve that. Fixable. It's not like we need to start over again. So I said, F it, and went to bed to try again in the morning. The next morning I ended up drilling some custom shelf pin holes to move the top and middle shelves up enough to account for the measuring error, which worked just fine. I figured now is also a good time to install the handles since I really couldn't get into the cabinet without them. And something else I didn't account for, if something is on hinges, make sure the opposite side is secured. The shelves in this cabinet just sit in place, so the shelves had a tendency to swing out with the door. To fix this new issue, I picked up some of these nail-in plastic feet that you can put in chair or table legs and use these as stoppers to hold the shelves in place, as well as tacking them above the doors to act as door stops. And with that, this project is finally done. Really, for me, I think it's somewhat marred. Between having it take 2 years to get finished, the wrong thickness of plywood, the mistake in measuring, the wrong hinges, the doors not staying in place, the fact that the last time I went to work on these I found mold in my basement, and the 6 trips I had to make to the store in the course of 36 hours to get this project finished. That was ridiculous. That being said, I'm happy it's done, looks good, and it does a good job of what it's supposed to be doing. Hiding all the crap. So on that note, thank you guys for watching, and if you like what I'm doing here, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you want to see more up-to-date stuff, you can check me out on Instagram at John the Schreiner. Hope to see you guys in the next video, and have a good one. Don't worry, I might look a little bit different next week, but still me.